The 794th edition of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up at Underdog Fantasy using promo code MMA SGPN to get up to $1,000 in bonus credits. And we're brought to you by Edge Boost. Get up to $750 in cashback rewards each month when you sign up at edgeboost.bet and you use promo code SGPN.
Ho, Degenerados. Welcome to episode 794 of the MMA Gambling Podcast and the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, dedicated to T. Sawyer 627, who says he loves the fighter graphics. Great job, guys. Thank you, T. Sawyer, on YouTube. No fighter graphics for regional stuff, but we do have it for the UFC. And today is all about the regional stuff. I am the Ask Grinding Machine, Jeff Fox. Beside me is the one and only Daniel Gumby Vreeland, the expert of this here regional stuff. And we're covering Oktagon today. Oktagon 69, nice, high five. Holzer versus Ilbay. They're off in Germany for this here event. We are picking, Gumby has picked fights from throughout the card. He's picked basically fights with the best fighters in it. Oktagon's kind of got a weird order to things, at least as of this recording. So we're all over the map, but we're going to get you basically picks for more than half of the card before we are out of your orifices. So, let's get Gumby Vreeland in your orifices. Maybe you can let us know how we are doing with the regional on the year.
So we basically went even this past weekend. We had two sets of events. LFA, which actually had two of our fights canceled. One full on canceled. One got a replacement fighter. So the odds in the replacement fight that you could have gotten on the guy we picked anyway was minus 1,800. So you could have enjoyed the like 32 cents you would have got on that play. But overall, that one wound up being 3-0. We also went 2-0 on our lightning round picks on that one. But 3-0 and basically up a unit because the odds were pretty bad for us. And then when we kicked it on over to Ryzen, we went 2-3, but we did hit a pretty nice underdog. So we wound up about down a unit there. So that split the difference. Push on the weekend to bring us to still up 5.5 units on regional MMA. So good stuff so far this year. And all four of our lightning round picks hit this week, both on Ryzen, both on LFA. So good stuff there too.
So you're on pace for about what? If you keep this up, 22 units up on the year. So not bad, right?
Yeah, that would be, I think that's right around where we were 2 years ago. And then like last year we had the 50 unit boon. So, you know, maybe we can step it up a notch. It was a slow start thanks to frickin' Aries.
Yeah. No more French MMA. Yeah. You're coming at the Gumby has trouble with that one.
Out.
Yeah. Thoughts on the Ryzen champion who just gave up his title to join the UFC again.
So happy. You know, I wish it happened 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Instead of now. But like Kyoji Horiguchi still got it. And like this flyweight division could use a couple of fresh faces in it. You know, right now we've seen a lot of that top of the division cycle through. You know, no offense to Brandon Moreno, who looked great this past weekend, but like we've seen him fight all these dudes, and we kind of know how it would go down. You know, like you know, Manel Kape's already fought Pantoja. Moreno's already fought Pantoja. You know, we just watched Albazi get beat up by Moreno. We just watched Ursig get beat up by Moreno, and he's fought Pantoja. So, like, yeah, we're kind of getting to the point where we could use a couple of more fresh faces and things to circulate a little bit. And Kyoji Horiguchi could just be the guy to throw a wrench into some people's plans.
Do you think he does the Kai Asakura and jumps the line and gets a title shot immediately?
So here's the thing. He's more deserving than Kaya Sakura, right? Like in terms of that, like in my opinion, right? Like, but because he's not like a fresh and interesting face, I don't know that he does. You know, like he's interesting to me and he's probably fresh to new people, but like he was already in the UFC once and he wasn't a champion. So like, it's hard to tout him as being like, well, he's the undeniable number one because he's just been fighting these other guys who we don't care about and fighting bantamweight a lot too. Right. So like, I think maybe they make him fight Raw Dog, you know, maybe him and Royval to determine a number one contender. I'm kind of curious on who they're going to run against Pantoja next, though, because like it seems like Moreno's got a pretty decent claim, right?
Yeah.
It also seems like Kai Kara France has got a pretty decent claim. And it also seems like Manel Kape has a pretty decent claim. And if Raw Dog didn't pull out of a fight recently with an injury. It would seem like Raw Dog has a pretty decent, like there are just like, you could run any of them, but I also just like don't know any of them that wouldn't be like plus 250 underdogs against Pantoja right now.
They're going back to Mexico, UFC 320 in September. Is that one, Moreno? Do you think? I guess.
But like, doesn't Pantoja have to fight before then, or would
think that? Yeah.
Yeah. Like, when was the last time we saw Pantoja? Was that last year? No, early this year.
Yeah.
He beat Asakura in January or February. So like, yeah, I gotta imagine we're gonna see him in like June, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you would think. We shall wait and see. It's interesting though. Exciting to get more flyweights added to the UFC. Before we move on, hopefully Gumby noticed the ads have been updated, Gumby. So you
while we were reading.
And you're gonna have to cut what the new ad read. You have to cut this out and put it in the episodes we just did. But anyhow, that's all behind the scenes stuff for Gumby. Why would you pay for some touts Discord when you can get access to SGPN's Discord completely free? Hang out with the SGPN community, breaking down all the Gen action. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. Of course, you want to check out the fights channel in there. That's where we hang out predominantly. All right, let's get you Oktagon 69 high fives. Holzer versus Ilbay. It is going down on April the 5th, which would be Saturday, but 12 noon. UFC is probably later afternoon, I would guess. So this will lead you right into it. Noon. They're going down in the Westfalenhall in Dortmund, Germany. 12 bouts. Gummies picked the 5 that have the top ranked fighters in it, and then we'll get you some bonus picks, and then we'll get out of here. And excitingly, we have odds. Odds have dropped already for this. So, all right, we're starting with the flyweight bout. Aaron Abbey from Wales versus Mohammed Walid. He is not from Wales. He is from what flag's that? Kurdistan. Have we talked about a Kurdistan fighter before, Gumby?
Yes, and you've asked that same question when we did.
Nice. Was it this guy?
I don't think so.
No. All right. Walid is no mercy. 7-4, 2 knockouts, 5 submissions. So he's finished everyone. That is no mercy. He's been submitted once. This is his debut. He's won 1 of his last 5. He lost his last bout. He used to fight at 135 and 145. 5 years younger than Abbey, an inch taller, plus 185. Abbey 16-10-1, 1 knockout, 6 submissions. He's been knocked out twice. 1-3 in Oktagon. He's lost 2 straight. Got 1-3 over his last 4. 3-6 over his last 9. Used to fight at 135. 2013 pro MMA debut, minus 250.
So I'm going to go with Aaron Abbey here. I will say I don't necessarily love this line, being honest, because Walid has looked pretty good grappling in the past. In his fight, he actually fought Max Holzer, who we're going to talk about in the main event here. And when he fought Max Holzer, like, he held his own in the grappling for portions of that fight. Ultimately, like, not well enough, but like for portions of that fight, he stuffed takedowns and stuff. And as you know, Max Holzer's fighting up at featherweight now. And Walid is down at flyweight. So like, it was a big size discrepancy, and he still kind of held his own. The problem is I just don't think he can bring enough of that kind of style and that enough of that to be offensive in this fight. Like, I think the defense holds up well enough that like he could keep this fight on the feet. I think Abbey still wins the fight on the feet, but like, Abbey is a guy who grinds and wants to bring that type of fight. And I don't know that he can do that against Walid. I do think he's still going to be better enough everywhere else to win the fight, but at least that's enough for me to be like, okay, well, if he can't do what he loves best, do I want to play him at negative 250? No, probably not, right? Like, you want, if you're going to play a guy at that big of a favorite, you want to know that he can impose his will and win that way. And I don't think he can do that necessarily, but I do think he's better enough in the striking, just like not negative 250 better in the striking. So I'm going to go with Aaron Abbey. I think we're going to see a lot of cage stalling in this fight. A lot of grappling not get going. And like, hopefully when they do separate, Abbey like opens up, but I'm going to go Aaron Abbey here.
All right, boy, an exciting start, Gumby. You don't like the line. Yeah, the fight's going to suck.
I mean, it's not the fault of either fighter. Like, I think both of the fighters are pretty exciting in their own right. I just think like the style matchup does not lend itself to being like very visually appealing, which is crazy because like that's usually what Oktagon is the best at. Like, Oktagon rules at like putting really fun stylistic matchups. Like, when we talk about this featherweight main event, it's a really fun style matchup. This one, I just think they missed on this one. It feels like it's going to be a really daunting one to watch, and one that like when you get the live scoring as they go, you're going to be like, huh. once in a while, and which is again maybe why you don't necessarily want to be sitting on a negative 250 ticket.
Hard to miss on flyweights, though, so maybe they'll come through. Nonetheless, all right, we're going to women's featherweight now. Lucie Pudilova.
Is it featherweight? It's bantamweight.
Bantamweight. You're right.
Bantamweight.
Excuse me. 135. Lucie Pudilova. She is from the Czech Republic. She's fighting Brittney Cloudy, who's from the United States of America. I'll tell you about Cloudy first. The Quiet Storm. I get it. Last name. I get it. 6-5. 1 knockout, 1 submission. She's been submitted once. This is her debut in Oktagon. She's won 2 straight. Before that, she lost 2 straight. She's not fought since August 2023. She's not lost since September 2022. Used to fight at 125 and 140. 0-1 in pro karate. An inch of height, 3 inches reach over Pudilova, plus 170. Pudilova, 15 and 11. 3 knockouts, 2 submissions. She's been submitted once. 6-2 in Oktagon. 1-4 of her last 5. She lost her last bout. 3-8 in the UFC. She's a regional champion, or was. Used to fight at 125. 2014 pro MMA debut. 4 years younger than Cloudy, minus 225.
Yeah, I love this line on Pudilova. You know, we're just talking about a negative 250 line I didn't like. We're going to talk about a negative 225 line that I do like. You know, Pudilova's coming off of that fight with Cecily Bolander in the main event. Well, it wasn't a main event, right? Because it was the bigger than ever card with tons of title fights. But the title fight,
bigger than ever.
Like, yeah, it was an absolute grind. That Bolander was just like a little bit tougher on. But like Pudilova, you know, absolutely smacked around Bolander at points. I think she broke her nose. Like, Pudilova is just like a really sharp striker. She always has been. That was what made her super fun and exciting to watch when she was in the UFC. And like, she's fighting Brittney Cloudy, who is, you know, a very physically strong fighter, but kind of has like lapses in her skill set. The biggest one for me being that like her striking is just like very clunky and it's like very stiff. It doesn't feel like it blends really well into the other parts of her game. And it like feels like she's like really thinking about strikes when she's throwing them. And not really, she doesn't reach her flow state, as they like to say in the analysis game. So I think Pudilova is just going to be able to hit her whenever she wants. I think you're going to see Pudilova cutting angles and doing really well there. Also, like if Cecily Bolander like wasn't able to like hold Lucie Pudilova down or submit her large scale, like I don't really worry about Brittney Cloudy's wrestling here either, even though she's quite a bit bigger. So I'm going to go Lucie Pudilova. And again, I'm a big fan of this line.
All right, there you go. A line that you like. That's what I like to hear. All right, before we move on, edge boost. Is Gumby on the ball? Does he have edge? Oh, look at him. We can shuffle things on the fly, and Gumby is on the ball. SGPN has partnered up with Edge Boost, the premier Visa debit card for bettors. An Edge Boost card allows you to avoid the hassle of having your card denied at the sportsbook, DFS site, sweepstakes site, racetrack, or casino. Plus, you can earn up to $750 per month in cashback rewards for using your Edge Boost card. And you know your money is safe as the card is FDIC insured. The best part is no credit checks and it's completely free. Sign up today at edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. And we are brought to you by mybookie.ag. MyBookie is your place to bet every sport, plus props for every game. MyBookie accepts customers from a ton of locations, easy deposits, and lightning fast payouts using crypto. Obviously, you're going to want to play the MMA lines there, but Drew Timme, the man is on fire. Check out his NBA props plays over at MyBookie. And when you do, head to mybookie.ag. Make sure you use our promo code MMASGPN for 100% deposit match up to $1,000. That's mybookie.ag, promo code MMASGPN. You get to cut that out and go back in time, Gumby, and put that in other episodes.
I can't wait. I love when they change the ad while we're recording.
Fun stuff. Because the other sponsor, if they're not paying us, they're not getting an ad read. All right. We are going to 145 on the men's side now. Gjoni Palokaj from Albania. Gjoni, Gjoni versus Marko Novák. He is from one of the republics. Which one is he from? Slovak Republic. 3 5-minute rounds at featherweight on the men's side. I don't have odds written down for this one for some reason. Gumby will tell you the odds as I read it off. Novak is 6-1, 1 knockout, 2 submissions. He's been knocked out once, 3-1 in Oktagon. He's won 4 straight though. He's used to fight at 155. He got a draw in his one professional grappling bout that we have info for. 0-1 in pro Muay Thai, 0-1 in pro kickboxing, 3 inches height, and his number is
plus 150.
Plus 150. Excellent. Palokaj, 10-3. 4 knockouts, 2 submissions. He's been submitted once. 3-0 in Oktagon. He's won 4 straight, just like Novák. He's not lost since April 2022. He's fight at 155, and he's got multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt, get the gear, get the merch. sportsgamblingpockets.com/store. Madness is your code. And his number is minus
200.
200. And who are we picking, Gumby?
I'm going to go Palokaj. I'll go favorite again. Novák, for the big problem for me is just gets backed up too much. I've watched a lot of his fights, and in a couple of good feints typically gets him on his back leg, gets him pretty close to the edge of the cage. And when you watch Palokaj fight, he does a really good job hand fighting is probably one of the best things he does. He backs you up, and then as you try to feel range, he grabs your hands and then uses them to build combinations. First of all, that the striking should be one-sided. I think Palokaj is a much better striker than Novák, particularly, like I said, in terms of the footwork and the way that he sets things up. In terms of the grappling, I don't know that he's not a better grappler either. I've seen Palokaj get in on the hips on a couple of takedowns and do a really good job setting up his own wrestling. And I think Novák is supposed to be the wrestling jiu-jitsu side of this fight for people who want to play that side, but I'm not even sure that he is. He's probably the jiu-jitsu side. He's better at setting up submissions and taking backs and things like that. But I think Palokaj has got the wrestling that maybe this never hits the floor. And also if Novák has to fight off his back foot the whole time, it's really hard to shoot a takedown and set up what you're doing that way. Especially because a lot of his best takedowns are from cage clinches and working his way that way. So if he can't do that, if he's not going to tie up, and I don't think Palokaj with his footwork is going to intentionally tie up here, I think it's going to be really hard for Novák to get him down, and I think it's really going to be hard for him to get going on the feet. So I'm going to go with Gjoni Palokaj.
All right. Gjoni Palokaj is the pick. Let's get you another play, shall we? We are going to, once I scroll to it, Tapology, damn you. This is 145 as well. Featherweight bout. Khalid Taha. He is from the country with the tree on their flag, which is Lebanon. Yeah. Jose Zarauz. Zarauz, is that how you say his name? Zarauz from Peru. I didn't say Mexico, from Peru. 3-5 rounds at featherweight. Peru taking over. Zarauz is the mercenary. 26-10-1, 8 knockouts, 5 submissions. He's been knocked out 4 times, submitted once. This is his debut in Oktagon. He's won 3 straight and 4 out of 5. TKO win in his last bout. He used to fight at 135 and 155. 2010 pro MMA debut. He got a draw in grappling, professional grappling. 4 inches height over Taha, plus 130. Taha is the warrior. 14-5, 9 knockouts, 3 submissions. He's been knocked out once, submitted once. This is his debut in Oktagon as well. He's gone 1-3 over his last 4. TKO win in his last fight, though, but that was way back in March of 2023. He's not lost since September 2022. He went 1-4 with 1 no contest in the UFC. He's fit at 135 and 155. Has missed weight before at 135, but we're up at 145 here, so that's good. Hopefully you're keeping up with all of this. A 2013 pro MMA debut, minus 150.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Zarauz. I'll take the slight dog here. I like his length in the way he puts together combinations. He's also despite the fact that not all of them are wins, he's fought kind of a high level of competition. You can go down his Tapology page and just pick out some names, and they're like, oh yeah, heard of that guy, heard of that guy, heard of that guy. And Taha, anytime he stepped up in competition, largely fell flat. Like you said, 1-4 in the UFC. His first fight outside of the UFC, which granted now is almost 3 years ago, was against a guy who was 9-8 and clearly didn't belong in there. And even then, I wasn't thrilled with how good Taha looked in that fight. Went back and watched it. A lot of wide arm punches and not going straight to his target. Seems really interested in being more of a power puncher now. And I know he always kind of had that part of his game, but it seemed like he used to want to go to his grappling more. And I don't necessarily know how good Zarauz's wrestling defense is, because I've seen him against really good wrestlers or really bad wrestlers, and he gives up takedowns to the good ones and not to the bad ones, which you might be surprised to find out. But the bottom line is that I think it's good enough that the 2 takedowns Taha is going to shoot at the end of the 3rd round or something like that will not matter, because I think he's going to pick him apart on the feet. I think the way he moves forward with his combinations, the way he uses his length, all of that stuff, I think is going to play up against somebody like Khalid Taha. So give me Jose Zarauz.
Zarauz, like from that Queen song, right? They sing Zarauz, right?
I don't think that's it.
No.
And
Well,
also shout out to Peruvian MMA because that's the
yeah.
reason I beat Jeff this past weekend.
That's right.
In my picks, my Peruvian pick.
Gumby's black cock came through and won.
So it is a rooster, by the way. A gallo.
Oh, rooster, yeah.
It's polo when it's pollo when it's chicken. Remember we had the chicken rooster.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, it's gallo for rooster, pollo for chicken.
Okay, cool.
Now we know.
Now we know. All right. Underdog time. Time for Gumby's bonus underdog pick'em play. Underdog pick'em, you can play any sport and win up to 100 times your money. You think Drew Timmy's still hot by the time this drops? Or what?
What do you think the lifeline we have on joking about Drew Timmy is? Do you think?
Yeah, I don't know.
You think
it's got what, a 10-day contract, but he's killing, so they're probably going to sign him for the season. So we probably got a few more weeks at least.
Okay, so if we got weeks of that, that's fine. No, we'll kick it over to baseball. We're on Tuesday. The 10 o'clock game on Tuesday. The Dodgers versus the Braves. Chris Sale on the bump. All season I'm riding Chris Sale higher than on his strikeouts. He's just too damn good with the strikeouts for me to doubt. And he went higher than on opening day, as I correctly predicted back then. So let's keep the ball rolling higher than Chris Sale take that or strikeouts.
All right. Sign up with our code MMASGPN to claim your special pick and first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus credits. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code MMASGPN. And Rhythm is your home for AI picks and props. Rhythm is already off to a great start, helping you dominate March Madness. Building your own custom model is easy and profitable. Plus, they got models for NBA, golf, and coming soon, MLB. Check out the Drew Timmy lines there. They got to have them by now. Sign up today for a 7-day free trial at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. All right, no more cutting and pasting for Gumby. We're done the ad reads.
So glad.
It's main event time. This is for nothing for pride. Max Holzer
for the right of bragging about being the greatest German fighter in the organization.
Greatest German fighter, yes. Max Holzer, Deniz Ilbay are fighting at 3 5-minute rounds at 145. Ilbay is El Pistorello, which was my nickname briefly. 8-1, 6 knockouts, 1 submission. He's been submitted once. He's 4-1 in Oktagon. He has won 3 straight, though, all via TKO. He's fight at 151 pounds, 22-3 in pro boxing. 2 inches reach over Holzer plus 200. Stifler is 10-0, 2 knockouts, 6.
Stifler would be a good nickname for him too, though.
Yep, because he stifles people with his grappling.
10-0,
2 knockouts, 6 submissions, 4-0 in Oktagon. He's fight at 135 and 150. 7 years younger than Ilbay, an inch taller, minus 225.
I'm gonna take a stab on the underdog here on Ilbay. I think. Look, so this is a grappler versus striker matchup. Holzer wants to drag this fight to the ground, look for arm triangles, move to the back, ground and pound. Ilbay is a very, very good kickboxer, as people are finding out over his last 3 fights in Oktagon, as he has just torn people apart on the feet. But the difference for me is that, like, if you ask me, first of all, Holzer's young, so he's working on rounding out his game and getting the striking going. Ilbay is a kickboxer, so he's rounding out his game, getting the grappling going. It just seems like Ilbay is learning faster. It seems like Ilbay is doing a better job at rounding out his game, because, like, Ilbay has hit a couple of takedowns in his last few fights. Like, just been like, oh, hey, look, I have this too. This is another thing you have to pay attention to while I absolutely blast your body with this kick. And like, that is a really good sign for, like, where his game is going, especially because, like, I think he knows, and like, these two have been on a collision course for a while. There was like some shit talk in the past that, like, this was going to happen. So, like, I think he knew, like, I have to get that wrestling ready for Holzer, because this is going to be a fight that is going to catapult me pretty damn close to a title shot, if not all the way to it. And I think Ilbay working on that grappling has really worked. Holzer, meanwhile, I feel like he hasn't been forced to use his striking to its fullest extent. Like, he's just gotten so comfortable scoring the takedown every time and being the guy who is the hammer and not the nail. Like, I don't know what happens if he fails a couple of times here, if he's not able to put his wrestling together. And I think with the way that Ilbay has been working on his takedown defense, I think the discrepancy in the wrestling, I still probably give the nod in the wrestling to Holzer, but I think the discrepancy there is so much smaller than the gap we're going to see in the striking. The gap we're going to see in the striking is monumental. And if you can tell me I can get the guy who is a better striker, who gets to start all 3 rounds on his feet at plus 200, yeah, I'm going to play Deniz Ilbay. So give me Ilbay.
I'm in on that. Picking the striker.
Yeah, you like the
grappler.
striker.
That's
Yeah,
my
you like
style.
the striker.
All right, let's recap, and then don't you go away because we got plenty more fights to choose from for Gumby. Ilbay, Zarauz, Palokaj. See, I guess two, and they both were wrong.
I think the J's turn into I's in most of those Germanic languages, if I'm not mistaken.
Pudilova and Abi. All right, Gumby, lightning round. Zap, Bam, Boom, Pow. Plenty to choose from here.
So I'm gonna take Predrag Bogdanovic is my first one. Predrag Bogdanovic. It's another Bogdanovic. Predrag Bogdanovic.
Not in the NBA. Not one of those.
Yeah, he's a negative 135 favorite against Fedor Durjic. And I just, I've liked the way his game is sort of rounded out, and he's had some really tough fights, which I think is why the line is as low as it is. But I really like him. And then the other one I'm going to take, there's not a number on the board for this fight yet, but Jorik Montagnac is fighting Frederick Vosgrun, which is, it's fun because there's an umlaut over the O. But for people who don't know Frederick Vosgrun, he goes by Neanderthal, which is his nickname. And if you get a peek of this guy's Instagram or his Tapology page, you'll get why his nickname is the Neanderthal. But this guy is an electric grappler. He is so much fun to watch on the mat. He goes for crazy submissions, has really great positioning. The transitions, I mean, just for a guy at his size, because he's so big, it has looked really good. And he's been looking for a fight recently. I know he had some beef with, who is the former guy in the UFC who had some mental lapses in some of his fights, and you know the one I'm talking about?
That limits it for sure, yeah.
Probably not. I'm gonna think of it later and be really mad that I couldn't remember his name on the spot. But he had some beef and was trying to set up a fight. But now he gets Jorik Montagnac, which is like the perfect fight for him, because like Jorik, physically opposing, typically likes to get his wrestling going on the feet, like no power whatsoever. Like he's the only 205er I've seen with no power. So I think Vosgrun is just going to roll him. I don't know what the odds will be like because he's got so few fights, but he is such like a fun prospect. So like maybe we don't have odds pick for it. We don't have odds for that yet. That one hasn't dropped yet, I think, because it was a late edition. So hopefully we see those pretty soon. And if there's something playable on Vosgrun, get in on him there too.
All right, you're set now for Oktagon 69. Nice high five. In the Discord, you can chat more about this at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. We're in the fights channel. You can chat with us on the YouTube MMA Gambling Podcast. Hit us up in the comments. Twitter is SGPN MMA. He's at Gumby Vreeland. I'm at Jeff Fox Writer. Same thing on Instagram for me, Jeff Fox Writer. Check out my Substack. Enter my free UFC Pick'em contest at moneymma.substack.com. Listen to more Gumby at Top Turtle MMA. Tell the people who is on your show this week.
So real quick before I do that, I just checked out on the different gambling sites that Vosgrun's number has indeed dropped. It was a late edition fight, but it has dropped plus 225 on Vosgrun. So that's one you definitely want to circle. Get in on some Frederick Vosgrun. And then for the Top Turtle MMA podcast, sorry for that detour.
That's all right.
We got Luis Garul, who is fighting at UFC in the Apex this weekend, and also Jaylene Robledo, who is fighting on Invicta.
All right, so check that out. And of course, sportsgamblingpodcast.com, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. Madness is your code for 20% off. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon for bonus content. We'll be back tomorrow. UFC at the Apex. Oh boy. There'll be the Quiet Storm, Jeff Fox, the Mercenary, Gumby Vreeland. We'll talk to you then. Adios.